I've seen this leak on a couple of channels I follow, and I really hope to high heavens that it's not real, because if it is, it speaks to a wider issue in pop culture and entertainment in general. And it just seems to be growing and growing, and the weirdest thing about all of it to me is the fact that every time someone does some stupid shit like this, or every time a company does stuff like this, it always backfires. Before I start going through this video game awards leak, I just want to preface this video for any new viewers that are watching. I'm not a straight white male before anyone starts with that nonsense. I'm half black myself. I understand the struggles of minorities. I'm surrounded by minorities in my family, or the more oppressed, I guess you would say, and I have no hate in my heart for anyone that is different to me or anyone that shares different views. This is just nonsense, and I have to call a spade a spade. You gotta call bullshit where you see it. So as previously mentioned, this leak is regarding the video game awards, which will be coming up soon, and the insane criteria you need to meet in order to be up for nomination. The document is so extensive that I understand that if you guys don't want to sit here till the end of it, there's going to be a timestamp in the description below so that you know when I'm going to be giving my thoughts on it. There is quite a lot to get through. It's a bit crazy, so let's just get into it. Standard A, in-game representation, themes and narratives. Detail how the video game will address underrepresentation in the lead and secondary characters, playable character rosters, casting choices, the main and secondary storylines, themes and narratives, and where the game is set. Identify where there are unfamiliar characters or themes and narratives that are not frequently portrayed in games or are shown from a new perspective. Describe where there are complex and non-stereotypical representations of characters or cultures who are normally relegated to two-dimensional roles. Detail the perspective of the narrative or theme of the game and how this affects the way in which characters or cultures are portrayed. So already right out of the gate with some absolute nonsense, but before I give my thoughts, I'm going to read on a little bit further. To achieve Standard A, you will need to meet 3 of the criteria below. Lead characters, playable characters. At least one of the lead characters is from an underrepresented group or groups. For non-narrative games where the cast is ensemble, the total roster of playable characters meets one or more of the following of the below targets. A 50-50 gender balance, 20% belonging to an underrepresented ethnic group, 10% LGBTQ+, 7% D/deaf and disabled, significant amount of characters featuring regional diversity, significant amount of characters are from a lower socioeconomic background. You should explain where there are characters that are not frequently portrayed on screen and or how the game is offering non-stereotypical representation. So you can tell where this is going already. If you don't have any of these in your game, even if the game is absolutely incredible, you ain't getting an award. This is absolutely just absurd on so many levels. Other characters. The total of your secondary characters or principal non-player characters, NPCs, meet one or more of the below targets. A 50-50 gender balance, 20% belonging to an underrepresented ethnic group, 10% LGBTQ+, 7% D/deaf and disabled, significant amount of characters featuring regional diversity, significant amount of characters are from a lower socioeconomic background. You should explain where there are characters that are not frequently portrayed on screen and or how the game is offering non-stereotypical representation. In addition, for narrative games, you should indicate these characters' roles in the story. Now, I know you're looking at your screen sideways right now. Trust me, I was doing the exact same thing when I read this over the first time, but let's continue. Main storyline subject matter. The main storyline's themes or narrative of the video game is about underrepresented groups. The game should demonstrate diversity across the majority of the playtime in order to meet A3, not just a single section or element. So let's just forget authentic storytelling, right? Remember guys, if your game isn't making some sort of social or political statement, don't even bother showing up to this award show. Other storyline subject matter featured character backstory. There are other elements of the video game storylines subject matter or in-game character backstory that are about underrepresented groups. Location. The setting is wholly or partially in an unrepresented region or community. If the game takes place in an imagined or fantastical setting, please detail how this relates to a real-world underrepresented regions or communities. You should explain where there are settings, communities that are not frequently portrayed on screen and or how the game is offering non-stereotypical representation. Why does an imaginary or fantastical setting have to mirror the real world or translate in any way, shape or form? Why are they trying to control the art forms these studios are putting out? Like, what in God's name is this? Honestly, whoever came up with this, whichever body of people came up with this, like, you need to go. Like, This is so stupid. Casting decisions, background non-player characters, NPCs. Casting choices of voice artists that address underrepresentation and challenge tropes and stereotypes. For games that feature background NPCs or crowds, does the game ensure that underrepresented groups are featured in significant amounts? Are you joking me? So you telling me that if I'm playing WWE and the audience is not representing a certain amount of people, that suddenly it just doesn't get nominated for an award? Like, what is this nonsense, man? Oh my god, I can't believe what I'm reading, and we're not even halfway through yet. This part is about the development teams in these studios and how they fill the roles within the studio. I literally have no idea why this is part of how a game is developed. Like I literally have no idea why this should play any part in how good a game is, but here we go, I guess. Standard B, creative leadership and development team. Detail how the video game will address underrepresentation in its creative leadership and or development team. Identify the roles filled by people from an underrepresented group and the underrepresented group they are from. Where shortlisted or approached people are from underrepresented groups, you can also detail these. If there is more than one person in any role, you may describe how multiple underrepresented individuals are being employed in this role. Lord in heaven, what is this? Where it is too early in the process to confirm who you are hiring for roles, or you are in the process of recruiting, we would expect to see clarity of intention in regards to searching for staff from underrepresented groups. Where possible, your application should also demonstrate how you are changing your recruitment practices. How, when and where are you recruiting? Are interview venues and workplaces accessible? Do you offer additional support for specific access requirements including travel? Are specific interventions being made for primary caregivers, e.g. job share opportunities, on-set childcare, flexible working arrangements? Now correct me if I'm wrong, but shouldn't you just hire the best person for the job? Whether they're male or female, gay or straight, trans or not, why does it matter? When did skills stop dictating who gets the job? You will not be asked to identify individuals by name. Please note that where the total development team size is less than 10, allowances will be made. To achieve standard B, you will need to meet 2 of the criteria below. Department heads. At least 1 or more of the following targets are met for the following heads of department or creative leadership roles: animation director, art director, audio director, creative game director, executive producer, production or development director manager, QA director manager, studio director head, technical director. A 50-50 gender balance, 20% target for those identifying as belonging to an underrepresented ethnic group, 10% target for those identifying as LGBTQ+, 7% target for those identifying as D/Deaf and disabled. Again, what if the people in question are just not that good compared to someone else? Like, why does this matter? Why are we not hiring the best people for the job? This is so unbelievably ridiculous, but it just continues to get worse. Other key roles. At least 1 or more of the following targets are met for other key roles in the team: animator, artist, audio engineer, designer, musician, producer, programmer, sound designer, technical artist, writer. We also consider key roles in the following teams: business development, events, HR, legal, marketing, operations, PR, publishing, QA, recruitment, social media. A 50-50 gender balance, 20% target for those identifying as belonging to an underrepresented ethnic group, 10% target for those identifying as LGBTQ+, 7% target for those identifying as D/Deaf and disabled. Again, what the hell are we doing here? Development team supporting roles. At least 1 or more of the following targets are met for the overall development team and supporting roles who are directly engaged by the applying company, including any individuals to whom work is outsourced. A 50-50 gender balance, 20% target for those identifying as belonging to an underrepresented ethnic group, 10% target for those identifying as LGBTQ+, 7% target for those identifying as D/Deaf and disabled. Workplace practices. The development studio fosters a healthy and supportive working culture. This includes, but is not limited to, equality and discrimination policies, especially when hiring, disciplinary and grievance procedures, HR and mediation channels, adoption of BAFTA's bullying and harassment guidelines, adoption of Yuki's Raise the Game pledge. Please include details of any other relevant initiatives not mentioned above. Obviously, I want to work in a place that is healthy and supportive. I want to work in a place that has a supportive work culture, but I still don't get what it has to do with making a good game. Now let's say that Ghost of Tsushima is game of the year, it's the best game, it's a masterpiece, whatever. But let's say that Sucker Punch has bad practices. I'm not saying that they do. I don't know anyone that works at Sucker Punch, I'm just using it as an example. Ghost of Tsushima is very widely regarded as a very good game right now. Let's say it wins game of the year. If Sucker Punch have bad work practices, should the game not win game of the year? What does that have to do with the Ghost of Tsushima product? Shouldn't we punish the workplace as a separate entity rather than punishing the game and giving the award to a game that is less deserving? Okay, I don't get the mentality here. Standard C, industry access and opportunities. Detail how your video game addresses underrepresentation in relation to paid roles such as internships, apprenticeships, and specialist advisor roles, trainee roles, work experience opportunities, promotions and first job roles, and mentoring. In all cases, these need to be filled by people from underrepresented groups. Detail any specific interventions being made for primary caregivers, e.g. job share, opportunities, on-set childcare, flexible working arrangements. You will not be asked to identify individuals by name. Standard C is compulsory for all applicants' applications. Concessions may also be made for games with very small teams. Don't worry, there's not too much left now. I know that your brains are probably being fried by this, but it's important that for the people that want to know, I go through all of this. Like I said, there's timestamps in the description for where I'm going to be giving my thoughts on this nonsense, so if you want to skip ahead now, you can go right ahead. There's still a few more captures to go through. To achieve Standard C, you will need to meet two of the criteria below. Paid employment opportunities. Your studio is offering paid employment opportunities such as apprenticeships, internships, expert advisors, and similar to people from underrepresented groups. Training opportunities and skills development, creative and business, including one-off, bespoke, and student work experience opportunities. Your studio is offering training opportunities including work experience to people from underrepresented groups. Opportunities include professional development, skills-based meetup events, talks at schools, or game jams which are aimed at or carry out significant outreach to professionals, students, and people outside of the industry from underrepresented groups. Promotion to a role that constitutes career progression. Team members from underrepresented groups are given a role that constitutes career progression. Shouldn't they get career progression if they're good at the job? Whatever. First job in a role that constitutes career progression from prior training. Team members from an underrepresented group are given their first professional non-trainee role on the game. Meaningful structured mentoring programs. Mentorship programs for people from underrepresented groups are being run as part of the game's production, either as part of a structured mentorship over the course of the production, as part of wider mentorship program run by the company, or where a head of department or creative from the studio acts as a mentor within a wider program and their mentees have some involvement with the game. It's beginning to give me a headache, like this is so ridiculous. Standard D, player-based development. Detail the promotional, marketing, community management, and design strategies that will enable your video game to access underserved and non-traditional players. Highlight access improvements, BSL subtitles, audio description. The application should demonstrate a real commitment to making the game accessible to as wide an audience as possible and may include events or release activations. To achieve Standard D, you will need to meet two of the criteria below. Accessibility. Accessibility improvements that have been added to the game such as subtitles, audio description, text scaling, voice or video chat functionality, controller options including remapping, colorblind modes, etc. Underserved players. The target player base of a game is an underserved group with a clear strategy to reach them. There is a clear strategy to engage the underserved players you have referenced, including marketing. Also includes marketing with accessible materials, events, outreach, online strategies, educational content, competitions, partnerships with charities, community groups, or other relevant organizations. Shouldn't you just market the game to show off the gameplay and story elements? Like, what happened to just creating a piece of art and telling that story? What is all of this inclusivity nonsense? I have never once picked up a game and thought, wow, they didn't represent me, they don't care about my struggles, they don't care about the fact that I'm a light-skinned black male, I'm not buying the game. Like, this is just beyond me. Online communities and player-based engagement with grassroots organizations. The game's core team build and maintain a welcoming online community and player base with policies in place to tackle toxicity and protect staff and community members from harassment. Particular attention should be paid to the experience of underrepresented groups who can suffer more extreme harassment in these spaces. Design strategies and community management strategies are both considered here. Any training for community managers to deal with toxic social environments may be included. The game's core team support and engage meaningfully with local and online grassroots organizations. The game is designed to encourage healthy engagement with the title and its systems, alongside healthy engagement with other players and community members. Oh lord, man, Like the amount of dribble, this has got nothing to do with a game being good or not. Partnerships utilizes specialist and or expert knowledge. The game utilizes specialist and or expert knowledge in order to engage the underserved players you have referenced in D2. Design strategies and marketing promotional strategies are both considered here. And we're finally at the end of it. Good lord, if you've made it all the way here, then I commend you, pat yourself on the back, and if you didn't, I really do not blame you. I second guessed myself like 3 or 4 times if I even wanted to cover everything here, but I want people to know just how ridiculous this is. Now here's my stance on this. I spoke to a couple of my friends about this last night. Some of them were understandably annoyed like any normal person would be, and some didn't seem to care. The mentality was that this doesn't affect the games that you play because you don't really play AAA games, and those are the games that are most likely going to be nominated for an award show like this. Currently, this sort of a criteria isn't going to affect most of the games I play, that is true. I can never imagine Sega or the Yakuza series bending the knee and somehow influencing a new storyline in their games. I just can't see them doing that right now, but that's the problem. I can't see people doing it right now. There's a lot of studios I can't see doing it right now. So if it doesn't directly impact me right now, why do I care to post about it? Well, it should be obvious, and you only have to pick up a history book to understand why. Initially, things won't always directly impact you, but with enough momentum and enough steam behind them, eventually they begin to trickle into other things. Changes usually start off small and then they slowly steamroll into something bigger, and before you know it, everyone's caught up in the madness, pretending like they didn't know this was coming, pretending like someone like me didn't pre-warn them. I'll give you a primary example of this, and this might sound stupid initially, but just bear with me. Now for anyone in the UK, do you remember when you used to pay like 50p to get on the bus, and then it was 70p, and then it was 90p, and now it's like £2.50, and you never noticed, and you look back, it's like when you look back on Freddo's, they were like 10p, now they're £1, you never noticed. Now I know that's obviously got to do with inflation, but you get my point. You don't notice initially, and before you do, and by the time you do, sorry, it's too late. Now I don't understand why these requirements are here. I don't know who came up with these. I can only imagine that this is going to benefit games that fall in line with like The Last of Us, I guess, and it's not going to benefit games like The Witcher or Cyberpunk, who have come out and said that their games are works of art and not political statements. The best game should win the most prestigious award. That should be obvious, regardless of setting, regardless of which characters are in the lead, and support the game. This criteria looks to force messages into games. It looks to force statements into your video games that do not need to be there. Now, do I care if a trans character is controlling a Gundam in a game that I'm playing? No. Do I care if I'm going to play as a straight white male and they're learning Jeet Kune Do or some sort of Chinese martial art? No. So what is the need for them to tell you what you have to represent in whatever game you're making? Why do you need to represent person X, Y, and Z, or else your game won't be considered for a nomination? You have to neuter a studio's art to get them on the stage. That is absolutely ridiculous. And this is for the few that cry. This is for the few people that cry constantly and they're not even going to buy your game in the first place. Now I hope this is fake, but I don't think it is. I'd like to know what you guys think about all of this. Don't forget to like and share this video, get the message out there, subscribe to the channel, and as always guys, take good care of yourselves, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.